Bebe's Kids. You've seen the reviews, you've seen the videos. Based on the film with the same name, Bebe's Kids is on nearly every list of not-so-greatest games. In this video, we're going to take a look at both the film and the game, figure out what may have gone wrong, some of the bad issues. While we're doing that, of course, we're going to be taking some notes. We're going to analyze those notes, then see what we can do to make some improvements. Why do some games based on films have development issues? Usually, they have a short deadline. They're racing against the film that the game is based on, hoping to release it early to capitalize on sales. It's crazy, but around 40%, give or take, of a film's merchandise like toys, shirts, bobbleheads, games, and other crazy stuff is sold before the film even hits theaters. Film productions often sell the license to that film to other companies to make the merchandise, because if the film flops, they are at a loss. They didn't sink potentially millions of dollars paying a development team to create it. The development team had to pay them. I'm paying you to make a game based on your movie. Oh yeah, I also got to pay my dev team, license software, buy development stations, keep the lights on, etc., etc. Welcome to the wonderful world of game development.
She got 3 more kids with her.
Paramount Pictures presents Bebe's Kids.
Bebe's Kids is an animated film derived from a comedy act performed by Robin Harris. The story is about a chaotic date Robin has at an amusement park. His love interest, Jamaica, not only brings her son on the date, but also her friends, mischief-making children known as the Bebe's Kids. Some of the voice acting talent included Vanessa Calloway, best known for Coming to America, Marcus Houston, yep, that Marcus Houston from Immature. 90s kids, they know what I'm talking about. Faison Love, best known for Friday films, and rapper Tone Loc, you know, from that Music Wild thing. The film was directed by Bruce Smith, who would later create the series The Proud Family. The film was released in 1992 with a PG-13 rating. It did not do so well at the box office. Unfortunately, due to time and a gargantuan amount of copyright issues, we can't do a let's watch session of the film Bebe's Kid. But here are a few notes. For starters, the film has a very strong Harlem Renaissance ethos to it. The colors have a bold mid-tone to them. The color schemes, red, green, midnight blue, that jazzy violet. These hues are not too strong, but they're not too dim either. I guess the best way to describe it is Harlem, New York, jazz club, 12:31 a.m. This is a cover image for the soundtrack, and it is just Harlem Renaissance. Like I said, look at the hues. They're not too bright, they're not too dim. You have all that midnight blue, the negative space help pushing out those other colors, the orange lights illuminating the streets. They definitely went all in with the Harlem Renaissance theme. The game takes place in a theme park. They call it Fun World, basically a bootleg Disney World, and that is an excellent setting for a video game. We have so much material to work with here. We have tons of mini games like whack-a-mole, bumper cars, numerous settings like a haunted house, pirate ship. So much to work with. Perfect setting. And this was the first animated film with a black main cast. 1992, we had a few sitcoms, TV shows out there that portrayed a strong black family, like Fresh Prince, Different World, Mr. Cooper. If I'm a developer, knowing that it's the first animated film with a black main cast, there's going to be even more pressure, because this might likely be the first game with an entirely black roster. We may have some historical ramifications here, but we have a lot to work with. So I'm saying bring it on, let's do this, let's make history. Now before we jump into the Let's Play session, let's go through a few pre-game notes, just to give us a better understanding of the foundation of the source material we'll be working with. The developer, Radical Entertainment, have worked on games based on films in the past, so this isn't their first rodeo with licensed content. One of the first games the development studio worked on was The Terminator for the Nintendo console. They also make a few ports to Wayne's World, and while not a film, they worked on another port for Beavis and Butthead. Now these games I mentioned were prior to Bebe's Kids. I mean, later down the line, in the early 2000s, they would develop Scarface, The World Is Yours, and they would develop a lot of sports games after Bebe's Kids, and I believe they made a few sports games before Bebe's Kids. The genre they chose was beat 'em up. I think that was a good choice. But this was their first beat 'em up game. A lot of their games were side scrollers, so this was their first, beat 'em up, which is a different beast, you're gonna see. So the game was only released for Super Nintendo. There was not any ports. That's not particularly strange or anything, it's just that lots of games based on film, they try to port that game onto your microwave. They want that game on every platform imaginable to get those sales, especially if they paid a lot of money for that license. Now let's talk about the publisher, because I find this somewhat intriguing. The publisher was Motown Software, a branch of the Motown record label. Now if you ain't familiar with Motown, they were the very first black-owned record label, and they signed groups like the Supremes, the Temptations, the Jackson 5, the Miracles. So yeah, they were associated with a lot of legendary music. With this Motown Software publishing branch, I assume they were trying to push out Afrocentric games, but they would only release 2 games in their 2-year history. In 1994, they released Bebe's Kids, and in 95, they released a game called Rap Jam, Volume 1. I assume they were trying to make that into like a series, like Volume 2, Volume 3, but the company folded in 1995. I might actually do an episode on Motown Software, because I think there's a lot there, and it could be the first black-owned video game publishing company. Now, I might have mentioned this earlier. The film was released in 92, the game came out in 94. A 2-year gap between the film and the game. Gaming has always lacked black protagonists. 1994 wasn't any different. Right now, I could probably name 5 games featured black protagonists. The first one being Shaq Fu. Next one is Barkley's Shut Up and Jam, and that game has a huge following. And that's not me hating, I find that fascinating and cool. The other one is Michael Jordan, Chaos in Windy City. Slam City featuring Scottie Pippen, that was made by Digital Pictures. And the last one would be, probably be this one, Bebe's Kids. Bebe's Kids might be the first game, our first beat 'em up, to feature an all-black selectable character roster. So yeah, those are just a few pre-game notes to keep in mind. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's play Bebe's Kids. Here we go, starting up Bebe's Kids. Producer of this game was David E. Davis. He worked on the Carmen Sandiego game back in the day. Motown Software, the record label venturing off into games. Okay, we got a little James Brown inspired intro here. They are riffing Get Up Off That Thing. They got the voice samples in there too. But the thing is, James Brown was never with Motown. He was never with the Motown record label. They got that messed up. But so far, if I was looking at this game, just the title screen from a perspective of someone that's never heard of Bebe's Kids, never heard of the film, I would get impression from the music and the sinister looking kids right there. Especially the baby. Baby looks like Baby looks like you cannot turn your back on the baby. Or like he would do something like really bad to you, but you wouldn't figure it out till like 2 months later or something. Overall impression I'm getting just a few seconds in, if I was looking at it from the perspective of somebody who's never, heard of Bebe's Kids, is that these kids are sinister and we're going to be doing some bad things in this game. As far as the design, at first I wasn't really feeling the triangle behind them. I think maybe something like a street corner or something like an orange glow I mentioned earlier with that like Harlem Renaissance feel to it would have been more stronger. All right, I like the scroll dip. Nice touch, scroll dip there. Rattle Entertainment here. All right, let's get started. Let's get started. Press the start button. Let's go. Who do we got here? We got LaShawn and Khalil. They didn't include the baby. Oh, the baby's name is Pee-wee. Just for historical records or something. But man, but what are their strengths and weaknesses though? I mean, it would have been kind of interesting to see like maybe LaShawn is stronger and Khalil is faster. Or maybe the characters take a different path through Fun World. Anyways, let's go with LaShawn. Please observe the rules while in Fun World. Okay, they are matching the film. They're going that path of the film. So the devs did actually watch the film. They studied the characters. They even tried to match some of the art here. This is the part of the film when the group enters the Fun World Park. Enjoy your stay. She actually doesn't talk like a robot. We are in Fun World, okay. Got these bootleg Mickey Mouses about to attack me. Alright, first thing I'm noticing, this is slow, it's real slow. There's like a lag when you punch. Characters are really spongy. It almost sounds like you're punching a sponge. It's like she shucks and jives when she walks. Strange animation there. Now you're gonna see an overlay, the fake Mickey Mouses, the bootleg Mickey Mouses, but I would like to see an energy bar over them, so at least we get to know how much power is left, how much strength they have, so it doesn't feel as spongy. We see that in traditional beat 'em ups where the power bar is over the enemy's head or is in the top left or right hand side of the screen. So at least you know how many hits they'll take. At least you know. Another way you can do is have that old school glow. At the very least, I think that would have disguised some of the sponginess. Alright, just punching. Alright, I'm just looking at this sign back here. What would have been cool is they raised it up a little more. Now in the split screen, I'm showing you an image from the movie. Now what would have been cool is like to have these kids just like staring up at the sign like in awe, like, whoa, look at all these rules we have to follow. Oh yes, let's pause it right here. The no Beavis, no vibes. In every single Bebe's Kids review, you're going to hear about that. No Beavis, no vibe rules. I believe that is a reference to Beavis and Butthead, because as I said earlier, Radical Entertainment did work on a port of Beavis and Butthead for the Sega Genesis. As far as the no vibes thing, it could be a Motown thing, maybe a reference to Beavis and Butthead somewhere, some episode, or perhaps an inside joke at the development offices of Radical Entertainment back in the day. I'm not sure what the vibe reference. Maybe it was just some vibe reference, but I like the three flavors. That's the three flavors. I think that would be cool to have like a little sign. The three flavors. I wish they put like a sign, like a little menu that showed the three flavors. Now you assume it's going to be chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, but like have it like chocolate, vanilla, and like vanilla too. Like what is vanilla too? Or some like really disgusting flavor like salmon or snickerdoodle. Sorry, snickerdoodle fans. I just don't understand why the top is so flat. You know, just have a little fun. Have a little fun with the concept. There's some bootleg park with a whole bunch of terrible food. The play areas, there's not as much. Like you just have a little narrow play space. I think that kind of just hinders like a little bit of stuff. Interesting. Now here's what I was talking about before when I said raise that sign up in the background with all those rules and have two NPCs looking up at those monologue of ridiculous rules. I'm like, whoa, look at all these rules. Are we even allowed to have fun? Let's get back to the mission at hand. I guess that's taking over Fun World. Punch. Ah, okay, his mask came off. I guess that's how they're showing enemy health. Interesting way of doing it. Okay, trying to pick up the ice cream here, but I can't. I'm just displaying my elite playing video game abilities here. Okay, this is not happening. It's not happening. Maybe she's lactose intolerant. I wish they just dirtied up this place a little bit. Some trash on the ground. Maybe you see like a rat run around or something. Now, here's the thing. I think the depth at the bottom actually works. Those like buildings, I guess the burger restaurant. There's some depth to it, like a 3D to it. I think that actually works. Which is kind of strange, and because the background, the top, is really flat. At the same time, I do think that depth at the bottom hinders the play area. And I would actually push that down and possibly remove it. I know it's kind of strange to say, even though I said I liked it. No, but the play area is the most important part. If you want to add depth, definitely put it in the background because it needs it. It's extremely flat. But we're going to talk about that a little later when we get to the fixing part. Because depth is going to be the first thing on the list. I just want to erase that foreground frame and just open this whole thing up. Burgers. It's just burgers. Have I been fighting the same two mouses since I started the game? And I am not even watching the time right now. And we are about to see what happens when you run out of time in Bebe's Kids. 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Time's up. Time's up. Whew, for a second there I thought my Super Nintendo console would self-destruct. Unsupervised minors are prohibited from engaging in unauthorized leisure activities. Allow me to escort you to a more suitable attraction. How about this? The player can start from where they were captured or where they were defeated by telling a yo mama joke. Now this will relate well to the film because there is a scene, a really famous scene, where they tell yo mama jokes. Now if the player doesn't get the yo mama joke correct, then they have to start from the very beginning. If they do get it correct, they might start, halfway, or like a checkpoint. This game mechanic is something very similar to something that was used in Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the Nintendo. If Roger Rabbit or Eddie got captured by the weasels, they'll have to tell a joke to continue their progress. If they got it wrong, I believe they would lose a life. This is why it's really important to study the material, the source material, which is Bebe's Kids, the film. Because I told you all, there's tons of ideas in this film you can use. So, look who came and joined the party here. The government agent dude. They sprinkle some variety with enemies here. That looping music is almost trance-like. I'm looking at that arcade, and that entrance is rather large. Like maybe at one point during development, the player wasn't allowed to go in there. But that idea was scratched for whatever reason. Now I'm kind of assuming those items you see at the top by those games and concession stands are usable weapons, but I do not dare to try at this time. Interestingly enough, the programmer for this, Jack Rebetoy, he worked on a few Dick Tracy games prior to Bebe's Kids. Then afterwards, he produced the Independence Day video game in '97, I believe. I can see the AI routine he programmed for some of these enemies. Once the player moves away, they chase after. The player comes forward, they move away. Yippee, we made it. We made it to the House of Glass. This is an actual location in the film. Let's see what's in the House of Glass. I actually know what's in there. I know what to expect. Tally up my score. I should have like 2 million points after all those punches. Where'd Pee-wee go? Okay, so this image right here verbatim matches the scene in the film. So again, they are matching the source material, or at least taking elements from the source material. So here we are, the infamous House of Glass stage. And in my opinion, one of the more controversial stages as far as game design. One day, I would like to ask David E. Davis, who's the producer of the game, what the thought process was behind the stage. And I don't mean that like in an insulting way, but I'm just really curious. Now, to set this up a little bit, toward the beginning of the film, there's a scene where the kids are causing complete havoc in a whole bunch of stores. I mean, they're just tearing up the souvenir shop. Now, the baby Pee-wee stumbles into the House of Glass and tries to break all the glass. Because what else would you do in the House of Glass? Now, Robin tries to stop Pee-wee from breaking all the glass. Because if all that glass gets broken, he knows he's going to have to pay for it. Now you can see in the stage, Robin running around trying to capture all the glass before it hits the ground. Now, your objective here is to punch the glass. Now, the first time I played this game, which was years back, I had absolutely no idea you had to punch the glass. That was probably the last thing that came to mind. And I never got past this level. Now, at the very least, they could have had some type of instruction before the level started saying, punch all the glass before Robin catches it all. That would have solved a lot of problems. Okay, stop right here. Before I go any further, I have to talk a little bit about the art. Arthur Way and Ian Vercher were the artists, and they were actually matching the film. You can say the same thing for the music too. Check this out.
He's a victim of your unjust laws. Fun world is no real fun for him. It seems so whack, so bland, so grim. Freedom is a concept designed for every race. Follow it and Khalil might own this place.
So let's get back to the stage. Punching glass, the House of Glass. Here I am trying to punch the glass here. So when Robin puts some glass back onto the shelf, it adds to the glass amount that I'm supposed to destroy. Okay, there's an idea here. But I don't believe if the glass hits the ground, if Robin doesn't catch it, it takes away from the glass amount, the glass score, I guess. I'm like, right now I'm just thinking, why not just have the player play as the baby, play as Pee-wee? You play as Pee-wee, moving up and down the shelves, trying to push over as much glass as possible before Robin can catch it. Now, if you want to add a little more difficulty to it, maybe have like a House of Glass staff member trying to catch the glass as well. Or maybe one of the staff members is on the shelves trying to catch you. I'm getting kind of like a Burger Time mechanic here. But wouldn't it hurt if you punched it? You know what I'm saying? It's easy for me to sit up here and just be like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You know, hindsight. But this one's just really puzzling. Let's just go ahead and let's go with this theme. The level is we want the player to punch that amount of glass, this certain amount of glass, to get to the next stage. Now, if we're not going to have like an instructional stream or something that tells you what to do, at least have some type of signposting. Now, the player, in this case LaShawn, as bad as she is, I don't know any bad kids out there that bust glass with their hands. For signposting, something that gives the player a hint of where to go or what to do. Put the player into protective gear. Now look at the LaShawn sprite right here. No, she has her dukes up. She's ready to rumble. 1950 style. Put him up, Kyle. Put him up. Put him up. Now maybe before she walked in here, she raided the souvenir shop and decked herself out in some hockey gear. Now, I know that's all sorts of random, but technically under these circumstances where you have to punch glass with your hands, hear me out for a second. Using the hockey stick to break the glass will look a lot cooler, make a little more sense, and gives kind of a hint to the player on what to do, absent of an instructional screen at the start. Let me sketch out something a little bit more different and match the film a little more. Now, in the scene before this, LaShawn and Khalil are causing havoc in one of the souvenir shops. Now, you notice in these screens I'm showing you, there's a lot of Afrocentric items in this souvenir shop. Now, this correlates very well with the overall art direction of the film, which was the New Negro movement. Now, in this scene, LaShawn somehow confiscates a plunger or some type of dart gun, which I'm surprised wasn't in the game as a weapon. So why not for this level, put the characters in one of those African masks as a way to protect themselves from the glass. I mean, that looks intimidating. If I saw someone running around in the store like that, I would bolt out of there. Now, to take this a step further, give the player that dart gun. Now, they're going to use that to bust the glass up. At least it's some way of directing the player, like I said, absent of a instructional screen, to do something. So that's just a little idea there, incorporating a little more of the movie into the game. Let's go ahead and get back into the stage, see if we can pass this busting glass stage. Back into it now. Got Robin back here, running back and forth trying to catch the glass. Oops, I forgot the glass can actually hurt you. Oh, those pink glasswares, I believe they're worth more points. Oh, I saw that. I didn't notice that Robin animation where when he grabs the glass, he actually puts it on the shelf. Okay, I think that's it for me. I think that's it. Fade out, scroll dip, pick us up and escort us back to wherever. Oh wow, okay, they start you all the way back. I'm surprised, that's some brutally hard game here. Because that's not an easy level to figure out, but it actually feels a little bit harder now. I think we've seen enough. Let's just go ahead and start trying to make our improvements. See what we're going to focus on. Let me just pause the game here. Alright, chillin', okay, chillin'. The key focus area for improvements. Definitely expanding the play area is the first on the list. I feel at times the game is claustrophobic, almost as if I'm playing a 2D side scroller rather than a beat 'em up that has dimension to it. I think just opening up more play area or play space is going to give more options for like power-ups, weapons. So definitely expanding that play area, more space. Next is some type of enemy health indicator. I mean, honestly, I just think maybe just getting rid of the sponginess toward the enemies would just solve all of this, but I think the reason why the enemies were spongy like that was a lack of variety of enemies. So eliminate or just tone down the sponge, but if we can't do that, at least have some type of indicator. This somewhat masks the sponge, but it can add a little bit of a strategic element to it, where you have 2 or 3 enemies with different health amounts. The player has to decide, okay, do I beat up on this guy? Do I beat up on that guy? Because this guy has more health. Or maybe I can get rid of these two guys first that have lower health and go after the stronger one. So it adds a little bit of strategy to it. But realistically, I think just get rid of the sponge altogether. But you can't do that, and the designers are kind of firm on that, then I think this is something that, like I said, at least masks it. And now the House of Glass. The House of Glass. How do you solve this? Like I mentioned earlier, there should have been some type of signpost and just some type of screen telling the player what to do. Because I almost guarantee like 90% of the players that played this game, especially back in the day, when that, the internet wasn't as prominent, they probably had absolutely no idea what to do here. They had no idea that to punch the glass. Or you could have had like a cutscene where maybe the kids are like, hey, look, I got these boxing gloves from the souvenir shop here. Let's go in the House of Glass and punch it up or something. But I guess another idea here is maybe turn it into a bonus stage. This feels like a bonus stage. You have to just shoot up as much glass as possible. The score, maybe at the end of it, just like you get a certain amount of points and maybe extra lives. But you had a House of Glass, it's too easy just to remove it. So let's just try to solve it. So let's move on. Let's see what we can do here. The first thing I want to fix was the deck. Now you're looking at the before picture here. As you can see, that background is just really flat. I mean, it's sort of strange how that foreground depth to it, like some dimension to it. If the background is just almost completely flat, like it's just a wall and like painted on. I know in a lot of Bebe's kids game reviews, they always say that the background looks like it was made with Microsoft Paint or something. And I'm not sure what Ian Vircher and Arthur Wade were using, the art tools they were using. I mean, compared to the other art, like the logo screen, the character select screen, and some of the cutscenes, like when they get captured or when they enter a new level, when the player enters a new level, there's some dimension to it. They match the art style well, in comparison to the film. So it almost seems like a different art team did some of the background. That being said, let's go ahead, let's take a look at the after picture, see what I did. Now look how everything pops. Look how everything pops. There's depth, there's dimension. It doesn't seem like that background is just painted on a wall or something. Whoops, before I even go any further, I have to change the aspect ratio. I forgot to mention, make changes, I like to work in the context of that era. So this is 1994. 1080 widescreen is going to be a no-no. Let's make a quick change here. Now that's a little bit better. But anyways, now as far as the details, I know I was talking about putting garbage and other junk in the park because it's a rundown amusement park. But then again, you still have to work in the constraints of the Super Nintendo. You can't just have a whole bunch of sprites on that screen at once. But thinking about it, I think I would have liked to have seen some type of item that the player can break open to reveal a weapon, a power-up. Sort of like the barrel mechanic you see in... You break one open, you find a fully cooked turkey dinner, ready for consumption. You see in the background, I closed some of those shops, especially that Super Arcade, or I renamed it to the Super Arcade. The depth makes it look even more like a place you can enter. And if you can't enter it, close it down. I could have put some graffiti on that door. We're taking over Fun World. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the original background and the fixed one. One thing we do lose with the fixed one is the far background, like the sky, those hills, and that weird blimp back there. I don't know if it's a blimp or some type of amusement park ride, but we lose that. But I think it's worth the sacrifice because like the depth is really important. And having that space is really important. And I apologize, I must have said depth like 100 times in this video. Definitely set like some unofficial world record on that. Doesn't it feel more immersive? You have more of a feeling like, it has this feeling that we're in this big, bustling theme park. And all this chaos is happening. We have these mascots attacking us. You probably noticed that weapon in the middle of the screen. That's the plunger gun they used in the souvenir shop. Again, I'm still a little bit surprised that it didn't include weapons besides, the baseball, and then the basketball you can throw. Well, then again, yeah, technically those are, but I'm really surprised they didn't include the plunger gun, I guess you can say, or the dart gun. Another thing that we had in our list was a more variety in enemies. Now I know later in the game you get to fight pirates, robots, and like this weird like McDonald's grimace looking thing. But I do think you could have added a little more variety in that first level. Now granted, they had those FBI agents that just grab you and just hold you, and you can knock your wigs off. But I was thinking with those bootleg Mickey Mouses, why not have one of those mouses like in a red coat that might just show up for a second, throw something at you and leave? Or maybe one in a yellow coat that's a little bit more stronger, like, you know, the supervisor or something. With this, we're just changing the color palettes. We're not adding that much animation if the worries about, you know, space on the cart. Now, I hate to get hung up on this. The whole thing with background, foregrounds, and today's magic word, which is depth. But you can still actually add those foreground shots and still have more space. It's just something I've noticed while we were talking. I'm like, you know, we can actually put those foreground elements in there. There'll still be enough space. So. But let's talk about NPCs. They don't have to be everywhere, but I think it fills the game a little more, fills the environment, makes it feel like I'm not the only person there. We had those kids over there looking at the sign. They don't have to be like interactable, like maybe if you go over there or something to run away. Yeah, these are just a few things that need to be fixed. There are many, many more other things we can get into, but let's keep going. Let's talk about the House of Glass. A few times during the film, we're shown these first-person sequences as if you're looking through the eyes of the kids. It happens in the intro of the film and a few times later. And it's really crazy, especially since it's all hand-drawn. For the punching glass stage, we're just going to turn it into a first-person shooting gallery bonus round. We'll have a crosshair in the center of the screen that the player can control with the D-pad. Before this bonus round begins, we'll have an explainer, stating to the player what the rules are, destroy as much glass as possible before time expires. If they shoot a certain color glass, like a pink glass or maybe orange, that might add more points or give them more ammo or extend time. No, this bonus round will be continuous, so after each stage, no, just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. That's gonna be a wrap for this episode. I mean, we can go on and on. The next stage was a maze that I really wanted to talk about because there are quite a few choice design decisions there. Quite a few. But we're looking at probably a 3 or 4 hour video. And I want you to go out there, you know, go after your dreams, make your games. And I hope some of the things we've learned today helps you. So thanks for watching. I hope to see you next episode. Please like, please subscribe. Thanks again.